Hello everyone, this is our lesson for today, and we're going to be working with a little bit of returning back to what we call still life, and then working with a drawing, focusing on the line elements, the shading elements, and a little bit of creativity on the side. We're going to do a very simple lesson of a drawing and interpreting a ink bottle. Ink bottles have a very unique shape, so we're going to do that as our main subject. So if you can get a pencil and paper ready, we'll be working on that today. And I'm going to show you how to get this started. First we'll do it in pencil, and then I'm going to ink it over, so that if you have a pencil or an ink pen, you can definitely ink it over and then work with it on your own pace, on your own time. But we do want you working on this as a full lesson, so I will be showing you how to work with this element and how to start off the spacing. Okay, so I'm going to first we're letting you know that this is our topic, our subject of the day. And so I'm going to move this aside. I have a full 11 by 14 paper here in front of me, and I want you to know that we do want to use the full spacing as much as possible. So we're not going to hold back on the size, so we're going to see how we can work on this and make it look really nice. One of the main things that we're going to be doing is we will be working with the element of the size and the composition. So we first want to test out the first we want to kind of exaggerate a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to exaggerate a little bit. It has a couple of components here. The top element that kind of pulls out the color, which is like what they call it, a dropper, I believe. And then we have the base, that is the element that you turn to open up this ink. And then we have the neck that is protruding from the main base. And then you have the main base. Okay, so we're going to kind of exaggerate a little bit. Let's work with our main base. I am going to be working here with a sort of a curved element. I'm going to try and twist it just a tad bit. And instead of making it, your traditional, boring, it's just a square, we're going to try and change the perspective on this a little bit. So what I did was I have these lines coming down at an angle, almost like in a V formation, and then we curve it. Okay, I'm going to curve it. Right? Remember that this is going to be done in ink. So then we're going to try and include this sort of like a gestural drawing, a playful drawing, but we do want to use the full space of our paper. So in doing so, this element has about 3 elements up here, so we're going to do this kind of like right in the middle. And by 3 elements, I mean that I'm going to break this up into this part in the middle right here, so that when I do the rest of it, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3. So that's what's going to be visible here. I will then curve it on the top. That's basically the neck part that I was addressing. And then we have the other part, which is the top. So if you can, work on a top like this, curve it a little bit. I'm trying to curve it a little bit more this way. And then this will be our area that we use to open it. This is the part that we open it. So I'm going to curve it a little bit more, and I'm going to connect it this way. Okay, so it's a very simple object. You can make adjustments as needed. And then comes the dropper section. Like in the middle, we're going to measure that, so it's going to be kind of like this. Okay. And we are going to do a little bit of shading on this thing. So this will be a part that you can work with. Make sure you guys have that available. And you can create a label. The label that I have here is going to be connected like this. And then there'll be another paper here. Okay, so most of this will be the paper, but still we want to kind of show you how you can fill in some of this area in color. Okay, I'm going to close it up like this. There's a middle label basically. And then I probably will invent the color on here. I can always change the color. And then you just want to kind of divide up the section into something like this. And so this is more or less what we're going to start with. Normally we can start with a pen. I'm going to start from the top. That way I don't have to smudge anything, and I can make my way down to the bottom. So I will begin by outlining, okay? And you do want to be able to work with a bold outline, and bold I mean nice and strong, okay? So if you're doing this in pencil, just imitate what I'm doing in pen, okay? Because we're still going to do lines anyway, so just imitate what I'm doing in pen. Okay. Right. So then we have that element filled in. I'm going to show you how to fill that in as we go through this part. That way we can kind of work our way to the bottom. In this part, I'm going to use the hatching. So I will purposely use a couple of areas that will be light, and then others will be white because it's going to leave a certain reflection on here. So I'm going to divide it up in the middle a little bit like this, and then I will continue to do it on the other side. I will probably leave on purpose a big rectangle in the middle, just so I can have a reflection, okay, like that. I will then begin to do cross hatching on the other side, and I'm going to gradually be filling in a certain area that's going to be a little darker than the rest. Okay. I'm going to select to do this a little darker on the side of it, and then just bring some hatching lines down. A little bit of darkness on the edge, just a little bit, so it can have a variety, and then I'll leave it like that. Okay. The next part is going to be working on this part, which is I guess it's like the handle that we use to open up the little container. And so I'm going to curve this in a little bit. Okay, I want you to establish a nice thick outline on this part. As you can see, we're gradually making our way down. And then I might go a little bit at a different rate, but then after the video, you can continue with your lesson. Just practice it, right? And then this goes over here. Also do create the base of your drawing, which means establish the strong outlines. And if you have a pencil, you don't have a pen, then just imitate my movements with what you have, which is a pencil, more than likely. Okay, I'm not going to go further because I guess I'll do the top part, so I'm going to do the top part. Once again, I'm just holding this as a variable so you can kind of see what we're looking at, what exactly tool we're focusing on and working with. I will then use cross-hatching. I will try and use a little bit of variation in what I have up here. I'll probably begin with the side being a little bit light, and then I'll move into like a gray area with my pen. I'll kind of do the same in the middle because I do want a variation of lighting. I'll go with a little bit larger strokes so I can cover a little bit more. And then I'll fill in the edge over here as well. I'm trying to follow the curve of my design here, so that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, somewhere in the middle I want to keep it dark, so I'm going to do cross-hatching like this on the side. And then I'll go up the other way. Okay. I'll add another layer of darkness here by crosshatching. And I'll add one here in the middle. I'll actually go top to bottom. And then in one section I'll just go solid all the way down, just to give it a good variety in there. Okay. I think I'll do the same here, like right here. This part I'm going to keep black. I'll start with cross hatching and then fill it in as I go. Okay, that seems to be okay. I could use a Sharpie, but I'm going to try and just use the line technique so that you can see how far we can get with it. Okay, and then I'll go in here and I will literally shade in everything on the bottom here. There will be some variation in the shading, but most of this will be black on the bottom. Not all of it, not all of it. Just do a little bit of gray there, a little bit of gray here. And the bottom I need to show that it's a solid base, so I'm going to go solid in certain areas, right? And then shade in here using the curve elements. There we go. Okay, so we've gotten pretty far with this, right? The next part is just going to be a lot of shading back and forth. I can choose to go dark if I want to. And then most of this is a label, so that's the good part. We can do whatever label we want, and then we'll have a chance to finish that, okay? I'm going to continue with this middle line. And then once again, variation in darkness. Dark here, a longer dark. This one will have gray in it because this part is super dark. It's part of the bottle. And then I'll go solid here. Okay, once again, shading. I'm going to do cross hatching. Kind of going over both. And then close this up in the bottom. You still want to be able to see that part of the section of the bottle, and I know that that area would probably be a lot darker, so I'm going to twist it over here like this sideways, and I'm going to try and do cross hatching so we can get it in here in a sideways area, but also a lot darker. I want that area to show that there is darkness. And I'll do that on the bottom too. Okay, so that should be good right there. This part is going to be reflective because it is glass. So you see the reflections coming in right there, okay? And so we'll need to demonstrate that a little bit. And even though this is a label, we want to kind of make sure we reflect the glass that's there. So I'm going to do a little bit of a rounded edge. And of course I'm going to make this thick as I can get it. And then let me twist this over so I can do the same here. This is the top of the label. Okay, I'm gonna do reflective. This one will be light because it is supposed to imitate color, but we do want to imitate the light that it has. Because we do want to kind of show a variety of, is it grayer than the top? Is the top darker? Okay. Here we go. And then just for variation, I'm just going to bring the line down. Like that. Okay. The white label, I'm going to probably leave it white because I'm going to let you do something in there. You can design whatever you like. And then the bottom will be very much the same like the top. So I'm going to outline that part. A little bit bold with the outline. This inking style lends itself to be a little sketchy, so we can do that. We can afford to do that. Alright, so then that's going to be the bottom part. We can continue to do a sketchy sketch, bringing down the shading on here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm just going to do the label here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you design something here. This is where your creativity will come in. You will do that next part. And of course, we will work with checking this out later so we can see what you did. And then we'll go from there. Okay. Try and be careful not to put my hand on top of that because it will get smudged. I'm going to make the final outline nice and bold and thick. Okay, so that would be our ink bottle drawing. Okay, and then that way we can kind of see what we can do with a later object, and then you can come in here and design something on here that you can kind of create. Okay, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and put the label just more or less how I see it, just so you can have a good sample. The cursive writing is called Bombay. And then it has a label coming out like this. And here is the color. But I'm going to go ahead and color it in. On this part of the label is the color. Okay. I can go ahead and of course it's called Indie Ink, so I'm going to write it down. You don't have to do this. We can do something creative similar to that. Okay, and then this is part of the label, and this one's part of the label. Okay. And you can put, Indie Ink on top. You can put it on the bottom. You can imitate the ingredients here. Here I'm just going to kind of improvise. And then pretend that it's kind of like some writing here like that. Just a little bit of italic design. Nothing really fancy, nor is it saying anything. But to the human eye, you can kind of decide that it is lettering, right? Okay, so this is the drawing that I want you to work with for today. You can kind of see this as an example, and then ink bottles. Look up ink bottles, and then Bombay specifically, so you can kind of see what that's like. Final part would be you can add the shadows, and then see how that works out for you. So we can kind of just, in the last part, add some hatching lines. Bring that shadow to this piece. and then it'll look amazing. Do this in pencil, do this in color pencil or pen. You decide which one looks better for you, and then that way we can have this as a drawing. You will simply sign your name here, that you did it, right? And then I'm going to put the year. Okay? And so there you have it, a little bit of an illustration using simple lines, simple techniques of reflection, simple cross-hatching, hatching, and of course the final part would be you would outline this a little thicker, add a label, be creative with it, and see how far you can go with that part of the lesson. Okay? So go ahead and get started. If you haven't had a chance, just replay the videos and kind of see how we divided up the drawing, and then you can kind of, on your pace, develop something like this, and then you can turn it in at the end of the class assignment. Okay? So as you watch this, the other 20 minutes can serve to help you in getting the drawing done. Alright? Get as far as you can, break it up into sections, and then see how you do. Exaggerate a little bit, make the lines nice and bold, and then turn it in after class. Okay? Okay everyone, that's the assignment for today. Let's work with that as a drawing, as an illustration in pencil and pen, whatever you have, and then we'll be amazed at what you can do. Thank you once again. Make sure to check in for attendance, and we will continue with another lesson the next day. Thank you everyone.